We have finally arrived at decision day. One of the things I often dislike about Married at First Sight is that we get this week off break before decision day. I find I kind of lose interest in the show, especially if the decisions on the couples really aren't up in the air. And this season, I really did not feel like any of the decisions were up in the air. I think like we had a pretty good idea at the end of the last episode who was going to stay married, even if they shouldn't. Let's not mess around too much. Let's jump into our first couple. And y'all are going to be shocked by this, but we're going to start off with Paige and Chris. Why this show is giving Chris the time of day at this point, I have no idea. I just feel like it would be better for everyone if they just didn't even have a moment at all whatsoever. But yet here they are on decision day. They'll be back on the reunion, and you know what? I still believe that Paige is going to give Chris another shot, which is absolutely ridiculous. As soon as Chris's name, not even his face, just his name comes up on the screen, like I'm already getting angry. Like I'm already irritated. I already am sick of his BS. And I hope that all of you out there were too. You know, we haven't seen him for a while, and like you forget just how full of BS this man is. It's unbelievable. Everything that comes out of his mouth, it's hard to believe, hard to take serious, and painful to sit there and watch Paige fall for his BS over and over and over. I did appreciate the little cuts to the experts' faces, as you could clearly say they were not buying a single word Chris was saying. During the interview, Chris did say that Mercedes had a miscarriage and then walked out of the recording. He's posted this on social media as well, and there's been lots of questions about, first off, if Mercedes was even pregnant. There was lots of rumors going around about it not being Mercedes that was pregnant, but, Mercedes' cousin or something ridiculous like that. Honestly, I have not dug too deep into those rumors, so I don't know what's true, what's not, but, sorry, I might get a little emotional here, but as someone who has gone through multiple miscarriages, I really hope that he's not lying about this, because, it's a very painful experience, and not something that I hope anyone would ever make light of or lie about to gain any sort of advantage for themselves. It really pains me to even have to question that someone would lie about something like that. And then we finally get to the end of the Paige and Chris saga. And what is their decision? They decide that they want to be undecided, which was absolutely ridiculous when you could see with all the emotions that were going through Paige, you could see the look on her face said that she was not on board with that, yet those were the words coming out of her mouth. And thankfully, the experts were not going for that. They were not satisfied with that. They gave Paige some time away with production. Chris and Pastor Cal had a discussion as well, and then we finally reconvened to finally get a actual no from Paige. But as I said before, you can just tell she's going to give him another chance, and we're at a point, I don't give a crap about these two anymore. I just don't. I can't. I gave too much to this couple throughout this season. And, you know, it was toxic to have in my life. So I can't even imagine what the experience has been for both of them. Overall, I feel like their entire relationship was a prank on us. There's no way that Chris got through any sort of screening without them knowing exactly who he was. Just ridiculous. And for Paige to just continue to want to give him chance after chance after chance, it's too much. It's too much to actually believe that it was real. All right, let's move on to our next couple, Erik and Virginia. You know, as bad as Paige and Chris were, I believe that Erik and Virginia were the worst match of the entire season. You know, when Erik rolled in, he really should have brought a booster seat with him so that he had the high ground for the entire conversation. You know, because he's been on his high horse all season long. You know, he's the adult. He's the one who's gone through everything. He's the one that has all the answers and experience, and it's just ridiculous. We open their dialogue, and Erik is like pre-planting the blame and excuses just in case things don't go his way, like basically saying, yeah, if this didn't work, 100% it was Virginia's fault and not my fault because I'm perfect. Long term, this is a future divorce. You know, as much as we all knew they were going to say yes on decision day, they're a divorce waiting to happen. We honestly just did not get very much time with this couple. Felt like we got their introduction montage. Erik answered, or didn't even answer a question, just gave like one statement, and then Pastor Cal was just like, all right, decision time, let's hear it. You guys want to stay married or what? I think part of that probably had to do with Paige and Chris apparently taking like 6 hours to get through their decision the day before and having decision day actually bleed into 2 days. Really ridiculous. I'm interested to see what their story is on the reunion next week. I will honestly be surprised if this couple is still together, because to me that is beating the odds, them staying together without having solved any of their issues at all whatsoever all season long. I don't know how they'll maintain that in the real world. All right, next up, Briana and Vincent. I think this is another couple that we all knew was going to say yes on decision day. Once again, I don't really think that they should have. I don't think that they're a great couple. You know, you take the bossy lady and the man who is overly sensitive, and it just doesn't work. You know, you're basically asking them to fundamentally change who they are to be happy with each other, which to me is saying, hey, both of you are not good enough for this, and in order for it to work, you have to fundamentally destroy who you've been your entire life and become a new person. Especially for Briana, I feel like there are better matches out there. There are better people for her to get along with, to be in a relationship with. And as happy as they are, and as much as I do hope things work out for them, I just don't view them as a good couple. One last thing though, I will admit the cheesecake thing was a little bit cute, and it was definitely a nice little touch from Vincent. You know, it's not just him getting down on one knee to say he wants to be married to Briana, but actually doing something that she cares about. Two couples left. First up, we have Clara and Ryan. You know, we're at decision day and we're watching the flashback, and it's pretty clear that all of Clara's day one concerns are still issues on decision day, yet they're both still very happily saying yes. out of all of these couples, I actually believe that their issues are things that they can overcome, and I would say do likely overcome in the near future. They're not having sex yet. It's been 8 weeks. Probably should have had sex by now. A little ridiculous to me. Also, the I love yous. Ryan has just been holding that on way, way, way too high of a pedestal, and it needs to be a little bit more realistic. Saying I love you to someone, there's not a limited supply of I love yous in the world. Every time that you say it, it's not going to diminish the word, it's not going to diminish the feeling. And I feel like even on decision day, they were both at that point where they were in love. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. One thing I do want to point out about Ryan is he's very socially awkward, has been all season long, was still apparent there on decision day, and I think that's just part of who he is. Some of the time it comes off like he's almost being a little bit insincere, but to me, watching that, I see someone who's just very awkward, nervous in the situation, doesn't know what to say, and that can often come off the wrong way. Out of all of our couples this season, as we get to the end, they're the one that I have the most optimism for, the most faith in, and I think that they're the best couple of the season at the very end here, even though they did not have sex the entire season. But, if they still, like, even though I think they should have stayed together, this should not have been a yes on decision day, because, like, they just didn't make any progress on Clara's side of things. And that's a little unfortunate, and I hope when we get to the reunion show that once the cameras went away, that they did get over those hurdles, those boundaries, and are living happily ever after. All right, our last couple, really not too much to say about them, Hayley and Jacob. This relationship was over by the end of the honeymoon and never stood a chance of recovering. Hayley still trying to place all the blame on Jacob, when as viewers, we all saw her behavior at the start. We saw how she shut down, and from that point on, never gave Jacob another real chance the rest of the season. We hear her saying, "Oh, I gave everything I had to give." No, you didn't, Hayley. Not even close. And if that was all that you have to give, you are going to live a very, very lonely life, because you barely gave anything. You did the bare minimum. You just did enough so that you can try to blame things on Jake, and that's just not okay. We're still at the end here, and she refuses to take any accountability for what happened in that relationship. I don't blame Jacob for being checked out for 7 weeks of this relationship, because it was very, very clear at the end of that honeymoon that they were getting a divorce on decision day, and thankfully they did. To me, there's no window open, there's no crack in the door for this relationship to have worked. It was dead in the water right from the start, and I think the only thing that could have potentially saved it is major intervention from our experts. And just going to hit some final thoughts, with that being the first one. The experts' absence for early on in this season was very noticeable. When we think back to Vincent and his grandmother going to the hospital, who's there to support? I think they threw him with Ryan, and it's like, so these two people who have just met, and Ryan is supposed to comfort and support Vincent, and I'm like, I don't think so. On a major event like that, especially during a pandemic, there needs to be some expert intervention, not just, hey, you two go off together and work things out. Same with the whole Chris business at the start of the season. We needed major, major intervention there. And honestly, I think with how things went down, there should have been intervention to the point where they just physically removed Chris from the show and never had him come back. I had another point there, but now I've totally forgotten it. Oh yeah, just Hayley and Jacob, as I was saying before we started the final thoughts. I think that with some intervention right when they had those crises, could have very much helped them have a better chance of being successful here. The matchmaking, this is our worst matchmaking we've ever had. You know, how someone like Chris got through the matchmaking process, I will never know. You know, you look at Virginia and Erik, absolutely terrible together. Someone like Hayley, 100% not ready for this experience. Feels like Briana and Vincent were just kind of just put together just because they liked both of them. You know, when it came out that Vincent was like, oh yeah, I very much said I do not want to be with someone who's bossy. That was just like one of those moments I was like, what? Like, how have you not said anything about that before then? You know, one of his major deal breakers is someone that you put him in a couple with. Seems very, very silly. Even Clara and Ryan, someone who wants to take it slow versus someone who really seemed like they needed sex in their relationship, just seems bizarre to me. Chris has got to be one of the worst people we've ever had on the show, male or female, out of any of the seasons. Just a terrible human being from what we saw. Just lied, manipulated, even still at the little bit after everyone's decision day, he's back there manipulating all over again. You know, he comes and apologizes and shakes hands with Erik, and I'm like, no, that's not the guy. And then what happens 30 seconds after, we cut to the preview for the reunion, and there he is ranting and raving, running off just like he has all season long. You know, I am very interested in the reunion next week. I've honestly been looking forward to that more than Decision Day. I want to see where they are now, what's going on, who's actually still together. Very, very curious about that, and looking forward to that next week. I'm going to wrap things up right there for tonight. As always, thank you everyone out there for watching. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate hearing from each and every one of you in the comments. And I hope to see you again next week, as well as whatever shows we end up covering in the future. So thank you so much. And until next time, we'll see you later.